For this episode of Let's Talk Jinx, we're going to be talking about patch 12.16 that just dropped as a matter of fact. And what we do is we go over changes that might affect Jinx, even if Jinx isn't in the patch itself, which she's not this time. They didn't do no buffs, didn't do no nerfs. That's not, not welcomed. Udyr will be releasing this patch on a side note, though. Even though you probably won't be playing against him in the bot lane, he probably will be ganking you in the bot lane. So just keep that in mind. Look over his abilities, his rundown, and stuff like that if you have not already. But if I can speak words. Caitlyn, however, is one of the first champions getting changes that might affect Jinx because she's getting buffed. Her passive AD ratio is being increased. The R now has bonus damage that scales with critical strike chance. And in all my years of playing League of Legends, I don't recall the ultimate scaling with critical strike chance, which is actually an interesting change, though. But that's actually, because like if you ever played against a Caitlyn, especially as a Jinx, you both have long range. She's a sniper. You have a rocket launcher. Both are not really supposed to be melee range weapons. Makes sense. So you don't really have that range advantage over someone like Caitlyn like you would a Sivir or a Vayne. However, one of the things you did have, though, was you had the AoE crits and stuff with your rockets and stuff like that, too. While Caitlyn, while she did do a lot of damage and she also built crit with her auto attacks, her abilities didn't really feel like they kind of scaled very well with crit, and that might be your edge in such a situation, especially out of laning phase. In laning phase, when no one really has crit or attack speed or stuff anyways, it's kind of what and what. But this will be interesting because the passive AD ratio is being increased, and I want to bring that up specifically too, because one of the strats that Caitlyn players, like people that actually play Caitlyn consistently, will do is they will last hit or trade by either walking back and forth into the brush that's in bottom lane, or even just permanently being in the brush when they're trading, because then the headshot proc comes up twice as fast, right? Instead of having to do 7 autos with the 7th auto being a headshot, it's like 3 with the 4th one or such like that, because you get double of that when you're in a brush. So if the AD ratio is going up from 60, 85, and 100% to 60, 90, and 120%, well actually 110%, my bad, but still going up by a good 5 to 10% beyond the first point, that's going to hurt a lot. And actual Caitlyn players are going to be using that against you as Jinx by going to the brush more often. Now, one of the things that if they fall into that pattern you can take advantage of is snaring them, especially if you have engaged support. They want to be in the brush, you know exactly where they're going to kind of be and where they're not going to be dodging because they want to get those headshot procs. This is a little bit of a theory more so than a guarantee, of course, but it could be something as Jinx you could exploit if you deal with Caitlyn's that constantly kind of do that. If not, then it's going to be business as usual in the laning phase at least, but just watch out for when the headshot is up. You see a little indicator, the gun glows and stuff, just kind of back away, get out of range, force her to have to use it on a minion that she's going to miss last hitting. If she doesn't, use it on that instead, and there you go. Draven is getting the Q base damage decrease. So Draven's actually been an axe juggling terror, apparently in elite brackets of play. And so they're kind of bringing that down a little bit from 45, 50, 55, 60, 65 to 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. So 5 base damage at all levels. And that could, affect more than just his ability to trade. We always talk about this last hitting. If he's last hitting while juggling those axes, going to be 5 damage less when he's juggling those axes on the minions he's hitting. Might mess with his last hitting a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Trading again also will be a little bit off. The thing about Draven when your Jinx is Flame Chompers are your friend, right? If he's really just running you down, he wants to catch those axes to keep up the damage. So just throw the Flame Chompers where he's going to catch the axes at. There you go. Let's see who else we got. Kaisa's passive on-hit damage is being increased, the Q AP scaling is increased, and the R AP scaling is increased. Wasn't that lovely? Because they nerfed like her AP build, especially for ARAM and stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a scummy AP ARAM Kaisa player whenever I do get Kaisa. It looks like they're giving some AP power back to her, which is interesting. However, one of the things about her Q and how it still works is it will target minions as well as champions. So if you see her coming towards you and she wants to like get some damage on you with the Q, if you're in a minion wave, try and be towards the back of the minion wave relative to where Kaisa is if you're Jinx in the scenario. You don't actually have to use the flame choppers or nothing like that. It's just the Q damage. The AP scaling is being increased, so it's going to hurt a little bit more with the mixed build. But also on top of that, where I was going with this too, is Kaisa in the bottom lane is going to be building mixed damage, which means she's going to be building a mix of physical damage and magic damage. Remember, magic damage is what AP is. And so the thing about that is even if the AP scaling is going up, unless she's going full AP like ARAM, that damage is going to hurt like a little bit more, but not a lot. But a way you can avoid it, of course, is in fact backing up in the minion wave and maybe having most of those missiles, if not all of them, hit the minions instead of any of them hitting you at all, just by stepping back. While the R AP scaling, meanwhile, I'm imagining that's the shield, of course, when they go and dive in. It just means they're going to be a little bit beefier when they go to dive in, which is interesting. Durability change, and there's been a lot of people just getting durability back ever since, so I wonder what the point was, but there's that. Let's see, Malphite, Poppy, Tristana, the Q bonus attack speed is being increased. Okay, this is the thing that made me mad about MSI, my Jinx bias here. They nerfed Jinx, and then Tristana started being a thing at MSI for the same reasons that Jinx was a thing prior, and I'm like, well, then you could have just left Jinx in the meta. I don't know, as a Jinx main, I'd rather watch Jinx in pro play than Tristana, just being honest. But nonetheless, the attack speed is going up from 50, 65, 80, 95, and 110% to 65, 80, 95, 110%, and 125%. And it could be nice because Tristana is someone I do play sometimes if Jinx is taken and such. And the Q attack speed sometimes just doesn't kind of feel like it's all there. I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say it's like a bug necessarily, but it does feel like it should be more according to the numbers than it is when I'm actually using it. And so that's going to feel kind of nice, I guess. You know, if you're playing as Jinx, one of the combos, of course, if you've never played Tristana, is she's going to want to throw the bomb on top of you and then fire the Q to detonate it. And it's going to hurt a lot the more she's able to actually stack extra hits on you. So even if the E is on you, you can just leave, though. If she doesn't have her jump or is not willing to use the jump to go after you, just run away to try and outrange her and deny her ability to then use the extra stacks from the attack speed even to detonate it even faster and blow you up. Yumi is a support, so E bonus movement speed scales with less AP and the cooldown is increased late game. It looks like they're doing nerfs to Yumi. So if you're someone that doesn't like playing against Yumi, lucky for you, even as Jinx, you know, there might not be more Yumi. People might drop Yumi if they're like casual Yumi players that only play her because she's meta. With the E bonus movement speed scaling with less AP after all, and the cooldown increase. How many people even knew that the E movement speed bonus was based off of AP? Because there's so many jokes about how Yumi just AFKs. The really good Yumis don't just AFK, they actually do stuff. So this will be interesting, because if you play with Yumis, especially if you play with good Yumis, this might be something that is interesting to worry about, because the cooldown is increased late game as well, to be able to bounce back and forth between, you know, allies and use the ability to kind of like shield a skill shot and reattach and like bounce around a team. That will be interesting. So you might just see less Yumi though, depending on how people want to play Yumi in the current meta. Zarya, the Q AD scaling is being decreased. The WAP and AD scaling is also being decreased. So Zarya's kind of strong, especially in the pro play meta. This is mainly pro play aim nerfs. But if you are a Jinx, you will probably appreciate all of these because the Q is going to be doing less damage, the W is going to be doing less damage, you're not being nerfed at all, so just by that standard, you're going to be better a little bit than Zarya. It's a weird logic, but it checks out. So there's just going to be less trading damage Zarya's going to be doing on you, especially pre-6 before the ultimate. So take advantage of that. Maybe bully Zarya a little bit with the rocket spam a little bit, like maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3 rockets if you can get away with it, and then back to minigun and just farm and just kind of whittle her down over the laning phase, and then you can kind of chip her out and gain an advantage there as Jinx. Zarya can be a support, so we'll just briefly mention that the E is being adjusted, but it's mostly a post-cast lockout going from 0.15 to 0.4 seconds to being 0.15 seconds at all times. So there you go. There's really no item adjustments. There's some ARAM adjustments. There's some buffs to some ARAM stuff. There's some nerfs to some ARAM stuff. None of them are Jinx stuff, so we can kind of ignore those. Ultimate Spellbook is still a thing because it's like the only mode besides Earth they ever bring back anymore. It's disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. I would rather them like shelve a couple champion reworks and stuff and just work on bringing modes back. But that's a video for another time. For this and Jinx specifically, however, it looks like there's some bug fixes, of course, and honorable mentions, of course, to Cyber Halo Janna, because Janna is a support, so you might see her as you're playing with a Janna or against a Janna, because people are going to want to be playing this skin, or the Strike Paladin Lucian, so you might see some Lucians in your game, because people are going to want to be playing that skin as well, so you're going to be playing against some Lucians probably. And then, of course, this one, the Prestige Cyber Halo Janna. Look at this. People are definitely going to be playing this patch, alright? Janna's never looked this good. So that's going to be all from this video from me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification, the actual subscribe button. but I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until this time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.